That's nice. Where did this come from? All right. I'll tell you a little ecological story. Years ago, in Eretz Israel, above the Kinneret, the Sea of Kinneret is the Sea of Galilee. There was a smaller lake named Agam HaChula, the Chula Lake. It was very small lake, but yet very important to the migratory birds that come from Africa and then from Europe. They go down in Africa in the winter and the summer. A lot of reeds over there. Very diverse population of animals altogether, whether it's birds and even they had water buffaloes there. It's an amazing area. So Ba'u Achalutzim, the pioneers came and they decided for various reasons they want to dry the lake. There's fertile soil, dry the lakes, and so on and so forth. So they dry the lake, and it's a bog area. There's a lot of pit there, and it started to go on fire because it burns well. Peat burns well, and they had an unbelievable bog fire. So what do you need to do when there's fire? Put water. So they flooded the whole thing again. Now what happened is, peat and bog has a lot of nitrogen in it, so the whole nitrogen washed down to the Sea of Galilee. And then all of a sudden fish died, and this died, and so on and so forth. So, what to do, what not to do, all the cattle that drink the water died, they simply died of having too much nitrogen. So, okay, so let's grow some grasses so they can eat there, so the cows can eat. Of course, there's a lot of phosphor and grass and nitrogen, and they were eating like loaded nitrogen grains, and the cows died again. And then they decided to grow some clover for the some hay for the cows. But together with that came field mice and all kind of other creatures like this, in the millions of them. Why? Because what's interesting about those particular field mice that are there, those moles that are there, whatever they are there, is that they reach sexual maturity after a month. But they have a special trick. 2 weeks before the mother, the female, gives birth to the offspring, she can get pregnant again. So it's like an influx of never-ending field mice. So guess what happened? They start to put poison. And the poison goes and washes down from where the Chula was to the Kinneret. And a lot of people, first of all, Hodgkin's lymphoma in Israel is the highest, one of the highest numbers out there, especially for kids. A lot of cancers in Israel is because of that. And guess what happened? Further down the River Jordan, they built a little dam. And they built a dam, and the flow to the Jordan is not what it used to be 40 years ago, 50 years ago, needless to say 100 years ago. Plus, there's a lot of, there's a big factory for chemicals in the Dead Sea. And what they do, they have pools there that they flood, and then the salt sinks to the bottom, because it's the Dead Sea, and so the whole thing comes out, and they're changing part of the whole system over there changed, and now they had a beautiful kibbutz there named En Gedi, and they had a beautiful guest house with retreat, and guess what they started to happen there? Because of the changing of the water levels, and certain areas were flooded with water, and certain areas were down in water. Not only the Israeli side, also on the Jordanian side. You know what they started to have there? Sinkholes. mammoth sinkholes. And it's dangerous, so they had to close the whole entire thing, and a whole big balagan. The moral of the story, which is a true story, is very simple. You mess up with nature, you hit nature, nature hits you back. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. That's the rule of nature. You can't disturb the harmony. So is to Am Yisrael. So is to Am Yisrael. When the Zionists came, they wanted to change the essence of the Jew, to erase all the memories, all the cultures that they had, and to create a new thing called Zionism, that should be like a secular entity, and so on and so forth, and to create a new type of a Jew that basically has no memories and no context to the past and where you come from, and deny those things, and so on and so forth. As a result of that, you get what you get today in Israel. There is great polarization of Israeli society. There's tremendous hatred and fear from religious people. It's absolutely like that. There is fear of almost anything. New immigrants, whether they're Russians, whether they're Ethiopians. Whether it's going to work or it's not going to work, most likely it's not going to work. But there's fear of making even peace and reaching out to the people there. It's not going to work because it's something very simple. You can't have two nations claiming the same land at the same time. It's not going to help. It's not going to work. There's going to be an endless war there, or unless something will happen. Either all the Jews will shipped out of there, or all the Arabs will shipped out of there. That's the bottom line. However, what happened in Israel, when they took the Torah out of the Jew, they took the essence of the Jew from within. Now what happened when the land already reached is a certain level of security, where they have the army, and Zionism died, there's a vacuum. And in this vacuum, you have problems. You can't, when you push Judaism out of the Jew, as much as nature will hit you back, you're going to get hit back. And that's something you need to remember. That's the way nature works. You can have different types in the nature. There are predators, and there's a food chain, and there's this, and there's that, and so on and so forth. And in Judaism, there are this kind of Jews, and that kind of Jews, and this kind of... But you all have to be Jews. If you remove Judaism out of the Jew, and what right do you sit on your land? The only reason you're allowed to sit in the land of Israel is because you're Jewish, based on the Bible, based on that will agree dismantling Judaism or taking away Judaism or disregarding what Judaism writes, that would invalid Christianity and Islam as well. But if you take Judaism out, what right are you sitting in the country? You are an oppressor. However, if you are claiming and holding on to the truthful of what the Bible says, therefore you're taking your land back. For example, if I am a Native American that live in upstate New York, and I have a deed to my land signed by the American government, and now I want my land back, or I'm a Native American, I can say that I'm, let's say, a Muncie tribe, and today they live in Wisconsin, but originally they're from New York, part of the Algonquin Nation. Now he wants his land back. Is he an oppressor? Is he an occupier? What is he? He's all the wonderful thing until the time comes to take your house. Then you're going to call him an oppressor, and so on and so forth. But that's what it is. You don't tell me you love Israel if you're not religious. What's the point of Israel? To have a state that is going to be just like anybody else. As I said to you yesterday, I don't need to go to Israel. I can be in America. I can be in Australia, I can go to Canada. I don't need Israel for that. If I want a Jewish state, Israel should provide me with that place. It's a Jewish home state. And you see how much the politicians are wiggling their tails around not to call it a Jewish state. And that's the bottom line, Rabotai. And that's something you should understand. And that's something that you should tell other people. If you view yourself first as an Israeli and later on as a Jew, however you denounce anything the Torah says, anything the rabbi said, I will be the first one to tell you they have no right to sit in the land. You are an oppressor. Other people lived beforehand. There were Bedouins. By the way, the whole thing of Palestinian is a whole hoax made up. There were Bedouins that were living there. There was no Palestinian. The Palestinian came because the Jews came. And they came from Egypt. They came from other places. Well, it's not what they made up to be. But if you don't know that, if you deny your own self, don't expect from anybody to give you recognition. And that's the bottom line. So, Rabbatai, enhance your Judaism. Learn about your past. Learn about your history. Learn about the Torah. Learn about the Tanakh. Learn the Bible. Learn history per se. And don't lose track of it. The land itself is not sacred. The land itself is only sacred when we do what the Torah tells us to do with it. By itself, a land is just land. The land is not sacred. If you say that the land is sacred over people, you're fascist. However, you can't call yourself a Jew if you don't keep yourself Torah and mitzvot, if you denounce what Chachamim said, what the Torah Shebe'al Peh said, whatever defines a Jew. So remember that and don't be apologetic. Have a good day.